Hong Kong is bracing for another weekend of fresh protests. A mix of different political camps, sectors, student protesters, and the elderly have been demonstrating in recent weeks.
And that's right. In fact, tomorrow, John, pro-Beijing groups are staging their second mass rally in Admiralty. They will continue to condemn violence seen at recent protests and show support for the police force.
Now, on Sunday, there will be two anti-government demonstrations. Social workers are holding a silent march in the morning, calling on Chief Executive Carrie Lam to respond to their demands. Pro-democracy group, the Civil Human Rights Front, is holding a rally at 3 p.m.
And university students have taken part in the majority of the demonstrations over the past month. In fact, police have been reported to have arrested several youngsters for their involvement in violent clashes that tend to break out at the end of these rallies.
And local media say dozens of anti-extradition protesters have now fled to Taiwan to seek asylum over fears of unfair prosecution. Apple Daily newspaper said over 30 of them have arrived in Taiwan. Another 30 protesters are expected to seek refuge there soon. They were reportedly involved in the storming of the Legislative Council building on the 1st of July.
Now, we want to pick up on the point of some protesters seeking asylum in Taiwan. And for more on that, we're crossing to Victoria Jen there. Victoria, first, any confirmation from the authorities on these Hong Kong protesters actually going ahead and looking for asylum in Taiwan?
Well, so far, there's no official confirmation on the arrival or the number of the asylum seekers from Hong Kong or their whereabouts, except what was being reported in Apple Daily and Radio Free Asia. Now, Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Office has so far played down these reports. It has neither confirmed nor denied whether it was in contact with the protesters. The National Immigration Agency, however, said it has not received any formal asylum applications. But President Tsai Ing-wen, who is currently visiting St. Lucia, has offered her support. Now, let's hear what she has to say.
这些来自香港的朋友啊，我们会基于人道做适当的处理。
What are the chances that these protesters' applications will be successful?
Well, first of all, let me clarify that Taiwan currently doesn't have its own regulation on refugees or asylum seekers, nor is Taiwan a party to the United Nations Refugee Convention. So it would be extremely difficult for Taiwan officials to render political asylum for these Hong Kong protesters. But based on Taiwan's act governing relations with Hong Kong and Macau, they can grant them extended stay, which is what they are likely to do in this case. Now, the latest example is Hong Kong bookseller Lam Wei-kei, who was detained by the Chinese authorities in 2015 for selling books critical of Beijing. And now he has been granted extended stay in Taiwan by local authorities recently. So the Hong Kong protesters are likely to be treated in a similar manner.
Well, there is a precedent, as you mentioned, to this happening, but it's not one person. It's a large group of people now moving into Taiwan to seek asylum. How do Taiwanese feel about this?
Actually, most of the Taiwanese here generally feel sympathetic towards the Hong Kong protesters. That's because Taiwan is now also under growing pressure from Beijing to reunify with the mainland under the one country, two systems model. And what's happening now in Hong Kong is making more Taiwanese more wary about the model. And even the pro-China KMT presidential candidate Han Kuo-yu has stressed in his campaign that he would never let one country, two systems to take place on the island. So the general sentiment here is that the Taiwanese will try to do everything it can to help the Hong Kong protesters the best way they can.
All right, thanks for that. We want to thank Victoria Jen for bringing us up to speed on that situation in Taiwan. Now,